episode of Signals and Symptoms with our core experts, Edward Marks and Harvey, and an amazing guest, which is Dr. Anthony Chang. I mean, if I have to start talking about him, it's going to take a long time, approximately a whole hour, what he has done for physician community in general to make them interested in AI. As usual, we're going to start with our updates of the week, and then we're going to go ahead and pass it down to this. The last week we did not make so many updates, but just to let you know, Gemma model is an open source model released by Google that actually generated sentence cell to sentence scale 27B model. It is an amazing model to actually have essentially pathology related improvements. For those who are interested in entrepreneurship, I would recommend reading this article in which the AI healthcare startups needs positioning and distribution. And by the way, positioning, I'm just going to be very honest with you. Ed Marks actually helped me develop my GTM strategy, and he really needs to do how messaging and positioning needs to be done. If anyone needs help, please reach out to him, as he has helped me a lot. Generative AI cost in large language model example in revenue cycle. This is an amazing study that was recently published. I would recommend that how they have these examples, example codes, etc., data sets, and then you can actually figure out where LLM fits. We have talked about this before in previous episodes, in which how much cost it's going to take and is it really worth it. And I'm just going to be very honest with you. For example, I'm personally working on prior authorizations, but at the end of the day, is it really the effort at this scale? And once, of course, with the rise of other LLMs, we're going to see the cost decreasing over time. This is really very good. And this is, again, the topic of Harvey's favorite, digital twins. We're going to have Dr. Talia Baker coming next week. She's going to talk about how we are implementing this. Now, just to give you a little bit of background, modeling MLM prediction is true machine learning at the back end. LLMs were never as good at it, but this is a very fantastic example in which you could actually use LLM in forecasting, which is a little bit different problem that LLM solve. But more importantly, if you have a digital twin, we're going to have Super Micro coming in, who's going to talk about how private 5G and networking digital twins are going to come in. This is, again, I don't like to share political articles, etc., but it's good news for startups like us, in which they are trying to say that it is for health and tech giants. AI is not your cartel. Again, I think healthcare is always one of the best ways to invest in, and go for it. It is a longer cycle to get to profitability, but there's a lot of resiliency. And as you can know, there are so many 2-3 big EHRs, but there are 500 EHRs or so still surviving and doing great in terms of market reach. These two, relation of coronary artery disease and sensitivity of cardiac troponin, was an amazing article in terms of precision. AI quantified total plaque volume predicted MACE, whereas troponin level did not. This study supports the use of CCTA with AI-based plaque quantification. This is very important things that we want to generate over here, that how AI and multimodal AI in the future, both, I mean, I think troponin is important, but they should be combined into a multimodal AI for the future. Similar article, again, we're going to put it in our newsletter, and then you're going to go through this. This is a very important document summarization for conformal importance guarantees. When you're developing summaries, for example, AI chart summary for EHRs or SOAP note summaries, etc., this is a very good article to understand how to make sure that there's conformity in terms of outputs and ensuring that. So those who are inclined technically, please review this article for generating AI chart summaries. This is very important. Actually, I'm going to send it to you because when we are developing our, chronology of medical events and how it impacts, and we always think of chain of thought. This is what we call chain of influence. So once you have an ICU admission, how it influences your depression in the future. So this is very interesting way of actually weighting the back-end LLM model as we go along. So a very interesting read that you need to know. This is, again, a very technical article, but denoising is very hard. And I just wanted to make sure that you guys know about this. And this is very important. Think like a doctor. Harvey? an integral AI for ICU mortality prediction. And the idea is, again, remember we were talking about, I hate the word agentic and AI agent because it's just a freaking buzzword right now, but the workflow. And then the important thing is to understand in the terms of ICU physician, which I am, the workflow requirements actually is very important, and how we think and how make sure that model things accordingly is an approach. This is something that AI healthcare today and tomorrow. I think we're going to dedicate a full episode on this. This actually quantifies what different types of AI are there. As we talked about clinical, as you know, Ed talks about direct to consumer, business operations, and hybrid. I think this is a fantastic article for you to review for that. Claude actually released agent skills. I am actually, to be honest with you, not so impressed by it. Harvey, did you have the chance to try it yet?
No, I haven't, but I heard the same thing. Not many people are impressed with it.
Yeah, not really particularly impressed, but I might do a small video and sort of review it. This is impressive. This is DeepSeek OCR. Everyone uses the word OCR as optical character recognition, but it is way more than that. Now, what they did was that, I don't know if you remember that there was another article approximately a year ago where they would use LLM through like a diffusion model in vision. So the idea was that, as you know, it goes word by word, but the vision and the generative image is very different. It's a diffusion model generation. So this one actually combines this approach and essentially takes the input, which could be let's say a soap node, and then that soap node is going to go in rather than words, but as an image. And then rather than inputting it through the regular tokenization of language, they are using the tokenization of language, essentially decreasing the overall requirement for context length. Very interesting idea from DeepSeek. You guys need to definitely look on this for sure. We want to shout out to Ed's dad. I love seeing your posts about it, Ed. Awesome. And then, of course, our very own Harvey Castro will be speaking as TED Talk at South Lake very soon. We're going to put that into our newsletter as well. If you are in Texas, South Lake, next November 9th, is it, or 11th?
Yep, November 9th.
November 9th, go ahead and then attend with us. Going back to our star of the week, Dr. Chang. So just to give you, rather than going through this, and you can look at the LinkedIn page, I got interested in AI because I really thought that it is going to save the way lives of a lot of people. But he actually gave me a path. I did not have a path. Right. So he actually told me that here's the path that you go through. And by the way, Harvey is actually American Board of Artificial Intelligence certified before me. He always comes before me. I hate that about him. And then I think 2 years later, I got American Board of Artificial. Not only that, he has an amazing personality. He actually got MI 10 Society of Physician Entrepreneurs. And I cannot even count the number of organizations that he has brought together as an amazing, generous, big-hearted person to make sure that everyone, and especially clinicians, have a stake in AI. Which is, I believe, I don't know why. Again, we talk about this all the time in our meetings as well. That we really need physicians to be stakeholders, and Dr. Chang has helped so many physicians. As a matter of fact, if you go through one of his education talks and everything, and not only that, he was kind enough to help two of my students to give a free ride to his courses, which was from low income countries, Pakistan, India, and Bangladesh. And I'm again extremely grateful to him to actually do this. And the whole talk today, I just want to make sure that you understand that he has put together one of the most amazing conferences that I believe that happens on this planet Earth for a physician. And this is called AI Med 25. And I am finally going to come, even though I'm on call. I'm going to take the call from the hotel room, but I'm going to end up actually just saying, hi to my mentor, my teacher, and my friend, Anthony Chang, and then this. So AI Med 2025 is truly a premiere. And this is not a bullshit. I'm telling you, I have been to his conferences before. It is insane. And the amount of people, the speakers that he's brought in is amazing. Advent Health, NextMed Health, etc. President. It's truly fantastic event. And I understand I'm going to keep talking about clinician, and Ed is going to say, "You guys are like crazy." Where am I? I'm the board of this hospital. So we're going to go ahead, and everyone's invited, and everyone there actually contributes significantly. For further ado, I'm going to let Harvey reintroduce Anthony, and then talk about AI Med, and then we'll go from there.
All right. Well, first of all, I want to say I'm honored to have him here. He's also a great mentor, friend. We've met, we talk and we text, and we geek out a lot on this AI Med, and really big picture is what can we do in humanity. So I'm really excited about this conference. I am gonna literally come from my TEDx stage, literally to get to San Diego, to get there, to be there. And unfortunately, I can only be there for a few hours, but I'm literally gonna fly all the way there from Dallas just to be there, because unfortunately I have to be in Miami. But I'm blessed to have met him. I know this sounds like we all are excited about him, but he is a true leader, and thought leadership and mentor and friend. So let's just jump right in. Before we start, Anthony, what do you want to tell us also about this amazing conference? Just to put it out there to everybody.
Well, thank you so much, first of all, for the accolades. But I'm humbled by all of you, because I'm just trying to convene and gather smart people to transform medicine, particularly clinicians. I don't want clinicians to be left out of any discussion for the future of medicine. It's ironic. I just got off the Zoom call with my publisher for the Journal of Intelligence-Based Medicine, and despite the challenges trying to create a publishing platform for particularly younger investigators from developing countries, are trying so hard to have a stake in AI in healthcare. And the good news is I'm able to convince my publishers to continue to give them an opportunity to publish. The world, even though I have a Harvard and Stanford background, ironically, I'm very much supportive of everyone else too, in terms of having, publishing opportunity. And AI in healthcare, Janae, is not about publishing in Lancet or having a publication in New England Journal. It's much more about bringing the AI capabilities as a resource to rural hospitals in the US, to developing countries around the world. And I'm a firm believer in that. I'm actually going to go back to China today to emphasize that. That's not about the elite institutions having a lot of publications. It's much more about transforming medicine around the world and global health with this resource that's amazing. So, um, speaking of which, so education and global health, both things I know both of you believe in, are going to be a big part of the meeting AI Med this year. So the AI Med is going to have, it's been in existence for about 11, 12 years before AI got popular as a topic. And we are expecting over 1,000 people in San Diego, with lots of breakout activities. So we let the registrants decide on what topics they want to hear about up to a month before the meeting. So we already have breakfast workshops on the hot topics. You can probably guess what they are: ambient intelligence, agentic AI, digital twins, all be represented. And then we also have, for the first time, a major presence from the chief AI officers. We have about, I think, close to 3 dozen chief AI officers coming. So they'll have a closing day Q&A from the audience, and but we'll also have several meetings throughout the meeting. So it's a very, very exciting meeting. Probably, I would say, arguably the best one yet, because of the diversity of speakers from all over the world. We have a company that's going to be nominated and win the Company of the Year. It's actually not from the U.S., so I'll keep you in suspense. And just amazing mix of clinician users, hospital administrators, investors, entrepreneurs. I think it's the most balanced in terms of attendees. It's not just C-suite executives, but also we're proud to have 150 abstracts that will be presented throughout the meeting. We have a Shark Tank event, and then an awards night to give people recognition that I think deserve a recognition. So a very, very exciting 3 days. And then we have the American Board of AI and Medicine, a short version of that course the day before, Janae, on the 9th of November, we'll have a special edition of the ABIM that's now reaching 3,000, 3,000 past attendees, including both of you. And I just got back from China giving an ABIM course there. And we're going to be heading into Canada, I'm happy to say, next year, as well as probably the UK. So we're now international, which I think is what clinicians really have needed, is some validation that they are at a certain level. Obviously, AI in health is way above even the certification levels, but at least it gives them a head start on their journey.
Awesome. Awesome. Hey, I know you mentioned digital twins, and I'm going to start off with a question for digital twins. I know you're a pediatric cardiologist. I know you have two amazing young ladies, and I know that ties into your passion of
He
healthcare
means
AI.
he means daughters, by the way, not girlfriends.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, two
Harvey
amazing
gets
daughters.
us all in trouble. Yeah.
No, but Anthony knows me well. I love his daughters. They're great children. So, with the digital twin aspect of it, I'd love to hear your thoughts of digital twins.
Yeah. As a pediatric cardiologist for 40 years now, incredibly, I'm leading the AI track at the World Congress of Pediatric Cardiology and Cardiac Surgery in Hong Kong coming up in December. And time after time at the World Congress, we're always grappling with the same challenges, right? What to do with this lesion, what to do with this situation. And I think, I bring in what Einstein used to say, which is, insanity is doing the same things over and over and expecting different results. So I think we've reached insanity officially with all the registries and all the randomized controlled trials. We haven't been able to come up with answers. So I'm proposing, and I think it'll be probably a little bit shocking at the Congress, that we don't abandon the registries, but we try to amplify the benefit of registries and having a lot of data by coupling it with digital twins. So there'll be, I think, relative news as far as I know, at the World Congress. So I want the pediatric cardiologists around the world to start considering the future of clinical research, which is digital twins. I call it N of 1x research. So you create copies of the same patient and apply it to what's available, and the combining, statistical with a mechanistic model to really get the answers to the questions that we've been asking for decades, but haven't come up with any answers. So, as you know, Harvey, my own daughter was debated amongst the surgeons I know in terms of what to do with her heart lesion, and I wish that we had a digital twin for her. Back when I had to make a difficult personal decision as well as a clinical decision, because I think that would have really, really benefited the decision-making progress. To basically, have virtual copies of the physical person, and I anticipate this will be by another decade or so, will be very routine, that we all have our health digital twin, and then have projections in terms of, what happens if we have certain situations and conditions, and what happens if we go on different medications. That will be routine within a decade. So until we get to that point, I think we all have to really. There's definitely a hype about digital twins, and I hear people talk about digital twins, and when I say what's digital twin about this digital twin, it's not digital nor is it a twin, but I think they're just using it as a catchphrase. And Alfonso and I are actually working on digital twin. We know how hard it is, so it's not to be taken lightly as a convenient buzzword, but it's more of a philosophical change in how we look at clinical medicine, which I think I'm envious of the younger generation. They're going to have all of this at their fingertips. It's going to be truly exciting.
Very well said. Again, just to remind people, audiences, do register. The link is in the description, and make sure that you select the topics while you're attending them. I promise you, there are people that I've met there before that has helped me for free. That's insane. This is not just, given that Anthony puts this large-hearted, generous aura over the whole conference, people come in. So, but I'm going to take it back to the conference, and we're going to ask Ed, So, Ed, using your GTM hat now and using your ICPs and form questions for Anthony that why should board directors or anyone should attend this conference, so that he can actually make sure that we have amazing engagement in that conference and we have amazing diversity which already exists, and hopefully 2026 will be bigger than 2025.
Yeah, well, again, thank you, Anthony, for being our guest, and thank you for all that you do for the industry. It's pretty amazing. I think we're going to look back in a few years about a lot of pioneers like yourself, and obviously Junaid and Harvey and some others who have really been the catalyst to push things forward and to go from just kind of this side view, side experiment in some people's eyes to, man, this is really a game changer in transforming healthcare the way that we know it. Yeah, so I know I was taking notes already. I was like, why am I not going? So I encourage everyone to go. I'm thinking, I think I might actually be free one or two of those days. I might pull a Harvey and get there for maybe at least one day. But yeah, I've heard nothing but amazing things about it. So I really encourage everyone to attend, and I will be pushing it on my socials as well. But Junaid, I have a question for Anthony, if I can go there. So Anthony, I have a bias that, and I think we probably all share it, that this will truly is, already is disruptive and will continue to be disruptive. What about primary care specifically? So
Yeah.
we're seeing a lot of that now in the media. We all kind of know the cycle. The media picks up on things and they start putting articles in the New Yorker and stuff like that, how PCPs will be displaced and things like that. How do you see AI working for the consumer, for the patients, in the next 1 to 3 years? Like, how will it change the PCP relationship in the typical patient?
Yeah, I think it's going to. I get this question a lot, as you can imagine, particularly from primary care physicians, and I think I'm so dedicated to their cause, and I think they have the hardest job right now. I just said this to a medical student yesterday. I saw a lot of patients yesterday. That it's some ways it's much easier to be a subspecialist like me. I'm a pediatric cardiologist. I have a portfolio of tools at my disposal to use for patients to make a diagnosis. And fortunately, most of the time when I get a referral from a primary care physician, the patient actually doesn't have true cardiac disease, but 1 out of 5, 1 out of 10 might have something. So, but their job is much harder, right? They have to be on the screening side, and 20 they might see 20, 30 patients a day, but 1 or 2 of those patients might have something real, and they can't afford to miss those.
Yeah.
So my job as a subspecialist is to hopefully extend my expertise to them so that they can have tools, AI tools, that will make them better diagnosticians, in terms of looking at EKGs and looking at basic studies and thinking about patients with chest pain, so that they get a reduction of their stress in terms of not missing certain patients with certain diagnoses. So that's already in existence. We just have to bring it into adoption.
Yeah.
I'm actually so focused and so dedicated to primary care doctors. I'm finishing a book on AI for primary care that I'm fortunate to have a lot of co-authors on. So you're absolutely right. It's one thing to talk about digital twins for cardiac patients, but another thing to talk about how do we help the average clinician, especially in rural
Yeah.
parts of the U.S. and developing countries. They don't have ready access to a pediatric cardiologist. So we have to be able to extend that level of expertise to them today, not like 5 to 10 years from now. So I agree that there's a sense of urgency about how Gen AI and ambient AI can really be a big part of the primary care physician's future. And mainly, I think agentic AI would be what I focus on. I just gave a few talks in China, and they have even higher volume than we have. They told me the average primary care doctor, I know this is hard to believe, but I've seen clinicians in the clinic to really believe this. They see on a given day, a doctor here, it's a busy day if you see 25 to 40 patients. For them, a busy day is 50 to 100. So the volume is double or triple, and they are already deploying agentic AI in the sense of having easy tools to work with to really, really help them execute, preliminary follow-up plans and things like that. So in a way, it's really good for us to travel and see how AI in health is practiced in other countries, because we can take their strengths and try to perhaps leverage those strengths in our own country, right? So I see DeepSeek is involved, and other big companies are involved, and they have the advantage that AI in health for them, Ed, comes from the top, comes from the chairman himself, as opposed to here where we have to struggle with 50 states and 50 ways of doing something, and adoption really struggles when it's this fragmented. On the other hand, we have very, very savvy technology and world-class technology, so we just have to educate our society as well as clinicians. We're still behind in terms of societal adoption. In China's like 86% of the public is in favor of AI, where, as you know, in US and Canada is about 39 to 40%. So we're not necessarily behind, but we need to have perhaps more education just to reassure people this is not what they might think it is. So, and what I'm proud to say is that the nursing sector has really come along in the last year. So we need not just physicians but nurses and other support personnel to be real believers in using AI to help their work.
Yeah, thank you.
I just want to state again, at AI Med and SOAP and M10, everything, if you go into the conferences, you're going to see people taking the course, which is ABIM. Technically, it's a board and American, but you'll see that the amazing breadth of people who are coming into these courses and understanding them. I've seen physical therapists, occupational therapists taking the course as well, which is, by the way, amazing, fantastic, available both live and online. And of course, you should come on November 9th early to experience that if you're in San Diego attending the conference. I'm going to let Harvey go because he's going to kill me afterwards because you didn't let me ask my questions. Actually, Harvey's in. Go ahead, Harvey.
Well, Dr. Chang, I love talking to you, and I know I've heard you speak before about working from AI 1.0, which is the machine learning and deep learning, to AI 2.0, which is the generative and agentic. What does that mean for us clinicians and patients from your point of view, Doc?
Yeah, I think more and more we're going to need to be more involved in understanding AI and adopting AI technologies. I think ChatGPT, and Ambient have really created two pushes and momentum for clinicians to realize that the world is changing and they need to start understanding the basics of AI, particularly large language models and what it's capable of doing, and also how Gen AI can help our work. So as you know, I use Gen AI and Ambient AI in my clinic, and that's why I find it valuable for me still be practicing pediatric cardiology, because I like to see how we can use this, on the front lines. And I use several large language models to help me with my practice hourly. I have a laptop open all the time. And one of my medical students asked me, I think a couple of weeks ago, as a cardiologist, would you be willing to give up your stethoscope for your AI tools? And I said, well, I like both, but yeah, in certain patients, I think I can forego the stethoscope. I'd be willing to just have my AI tool. But I think it's the best of both worlds, right? You have the stethoscope, which I think is the best technology ever because it's a universal symbol of I'm here to help you. And why not have both, the stethoscope and the AI tool, so that you have the best of both worlds. But I think this physician that practices without any AI tools will be very much outnumbered in the very near future, because a lot of my colleagues are starting to see what I'm doing in the clinic and say, hey, even though I'm board certified as a pediatrician, I don't practice general pediatrics every day. And by using the AI tool, it makes me a better pediatrician dealing with non-cardiac issues that I sometimes find myself in. So I think it really ups the game of every clinician. And I think soon, before the end of the decade, I think we'll have medical legal sticks that will have some consequences for clinicians that could have used an AI tool and decided that non-use of AI was their strategy, and be called out on those things. So I think hopefully we won't experience the sticks as much as we leverage the carrots of AI and try to use it to our advantage.
Yeah, I want to jump in and say I think that patients will be forcing that as well because I
Yeah,
wouldn't go to a physician that did not use AI.
yeah,
I mean, I've always been wired that way. I always want to know that my clinician is, getting trained in the latest and greatest, whatever the technology might be. And for sure, AI. If they're not adopters using AI, I'm going somewhere else. And I think that's
yeah,
going to be a screening thing that happens in the
yeah.
future.
No, that's a good point, Ed, because right now our in the US, our society is mixed. There's some patients like you that say, you know what, why not use the best of technology to help me and my family? And then there are other patients that say the opposite, I wouldn't want to trust a doctor who uses AI. Literally will say that. And then there are even clinicians, as you saw in the recent paper, that this is kind of funny to me, that clinicians look at clinicians who use AI less favorably. I don't know if you saw that paper out of, I think it was Nature. But you know what? Ironically, I looked at the data science for that paper. It was actually pretty flawed. So, so it's like a paper about data science didn't practice good data science. Just like the paper that said, Ed, you may have seen the Danish study that said endoscopists who use AI were de-skilled after a period, right? But that whole study was flawed for a number of reasons. So I think if you're doing an AI data science paper, you ought to practice data science in a good way. So, but that paper was quoted all over the world actually as a reason not to use AI, and I just find that really troubling that a paper about AI didn't even use good data science. So, so we have to be careful about what we see in the media because something negative about AI in healthcare is definitely better clickbait than something that we accomplish. But I think 5 to 10 years from now, we'll look back and say, "Wow, we vastly underleveraged AI." And back in 2025, we were talking about AI in the context of ambient scribes. It's so primitive. I think it's a stretch almost to think that it's AI, but because I think we're still vastly under leveraging the capabilities.
And I just want to add it. The stethoscope and AI can be used together, and I talk about it all the time. Why not augment our senses with AI? So the stethoscope is a great example. This feed that's coming through right now, our voice can determine if we're pre-diabetic. I mean, there's just all this tools that we need to use. And I just want to, I get this question a lot, and I'd love to see what you think. What is your opinion? What are the biggest barriers to AI adoption right now in healthcare, Doc?
I think clinician awareness and education and expectation and understanding. I think I always half jokingly say, um, the human factor is what gets in the way, but also what will get things done in AI and healthcare. Ironically, something that's technological is going to require humans. One of the things one of the comments I made in China was there are 26 Chinese astronauts, and most of them are engineers. There are not 26 clinicians who can speak data science that I can find in China. And I was not in a small city, I was in Beijing. And I asked the big audience, how many of you consider yourself clinicians with an AI education or data science backgrounds? And not one hand went up. And so I think, it's just the lack of education and awareness, as well as, a sense of what's possible and what we should look out for. And I think there's perhaps excessive fear about it too, because, agentic AI, as you know, it's sort of autonomous. And that word autonomous scares a lot of people, understandably, but also we need to get over the fear of something. And when Jesse Ehrenfeld, as you know, the past president of the AMA, asked me at an AMA meeting, it was a kind of a fireside chat situation. And he said, "What keeps you up at night?" And I said, "It's actually not what you think. It's not AI going crazy. It's us not using AI. The non-use of AI is what keeps me up at night. Because if you think about, I recently had to deal with a relative with a complex medical situation. Fortunately, I'm an insider. I can navigate the system, but I can't imagine someone who is not an insider in healthcare trying to navigate our healthcare system in the US. And it's just as bad in China. It's not better in other countries. So I think the non-use of AI is what keeps me up at night and what worries me. So
You're absolutely right. Just to summarize a few things, AI is a tool like a stethoscope. We need to learn how we use stethoscope. Now we need to learn how to use AI, understand its both limitations and capabilities. We do need to include physicians as well, and more importantly, our partners like Ed, who are CIOs, CTOs, boards of directors, to be engaged as both regular human beings that consume healthcare and also provide systemic approach. Anthony, I think the shift is changing. Physicians are now, I mean, just to give you an example, Save Life AI as a company, last year the fundraise was very hard. Right now I'm getting oversubscribed and more than subscribed. And the reason behind it is that physicians are now starting to believe, in my
yeah,
opinion. This is a start, but again, it's a long journey to go forward with. And then I'll let Ed go. And then once Ed is done, then you can tell us that why a nurse should come to AI Med or a physical therapist should come to AI Med. I would rather do, because they are coming. I just want to make sure my audience understand that they should, for God's sakes, again, into your main core problem, education first, application later. Go ahead, Ed.
Yeah, I can't help myself taking advantage of this opportunity. I'm so selfish, but I think it'll be beneficial question and answer for other people. So Junaid mentioned a board of directors. I on the board, a couple hospitals. I'm speaking to a couple boards, one today and one tomorrow. What would you tell a board, like generically, like they're coming at this, they know a little bit about AI, they're the average consumer, and they're wondering, how do we propel our organization, our academic medical center? How do we propel forward as from a board point of view? So what would the message that you would give to a board of directors that's not, again, they have average understanding of AI, and they know we need to pursue, but they're very cautious. So what would be maybe one or two things you'd tell them?
yeah. As much as I'm an anti-war person, because they always ask me like, tell us something relatable, and I said it's kind of like fighting a war now without drones. You can obviously count on people being courageous and loyal, but that kind of mentality and dedication is going to really fatigue in a war without technology supporting them. I used to say it's kind of like the Stinger and Patriot missiles, but it's actually like drones. Drones is even a better analogy. The drones will totally change the perspective of you having a disadvantage of numbers or capability. So it's the great equalizer, right? So I think AI in healthcare, Ed, is kind of like the equalizer. If you're already a pretty big institution with a lot of reach, it's going to amplify that. If you're smaller, healthcare organization, agreed to just this morning to speak with a healthcare organization in a rural part of the U.S., and they're anxious to get their AI going. So I think the desire to do this is a good start, but they have to do this in a very strategic and financially feasible way, right? So I think nurses are, as I said, the fastest growing segment now amongst the clinicians. I'm hoping others will follow. So the reason to come to AI Med is, first of all, it's an amazing community of people. Those of you who've been there, you feel a real sense of belonging in a sector that is just growing. And we have actually also breakout sessions with nurses or for nurse practitioners or for pharmacists. And the ABIM course is a nice bonus the day before. And also, you'll hear directly from a large group of chief AI officers now that are in the middle of all this. So, and most of them are pretty honest and candid about everything. So, and then for the first time, we actually have what we call AI Med Match, which is companies and organizations looking for AI and healthcare talent, and people will be able to talk to these organizations and enterprises. So it's really a virtual learning community, which is what the WhatsApp channels become, right? I think you may remember 4 or 5 of you came to me and said, would you be willing to host this? WhatsApp channel. And I said, absolutely, I'll support anything that will keep people more knowledgeable and give people reassurance about everything. And now it's grown to, the last time I looked, is 710 just organically, So obviously the hunger to learn is there, which is good, but we need to also put, all the learning and publications into practice. So to your point, Ed, earlier, if it's not in practice, then we haven't achieved as much as we should. And someone asked me, because I'm really into space travel because of my daughter wanting to be an astronaut, um, what's my lunar or Mars landing moment? And I said my lunar or Mars landing moment would be when we no longer talk about AI in healthcare, because it's so pervasive in healthcare that it's like you don't look at Amazon or Netflix as machine learning, but that's exactly what it is. Although the machine learning can go a little bit crazy sometimes. But I think we don't look at it as AI, but it's AI powered. So I hope that healthcare, I think within a decade or two, we'll get there. That everything will be driven and powered by AI, so that we don't no longer talk about it as a separate resource. We just think that it's embedded within healthcare and for improving everyone's care. The tough news here is that once we get over LLMs and agentic AI, and I consider these relatively easy to use AI tools. The hard part is coming. The hard part is the digital twins. The hard part is the deep reinforcement learning. The hard part is the cognitive architectures of decision support systems. That's going to require physicians to not just have a cursory understanding, but a cohort of clinicians, hopefully 1 or 2%, will actually be the real clinician slash data scientists that'll be driving the hard part of the agenda, which is getting us to the final form of precision medicine as we like to see it.
Totally agree. The biggest problem with healthcare development in the future will be what we call time series and spatial orientation. The term that we use internally is basically ensuring that an event that is done goes to the next. Again, the biggest problem in healthcare, of course, regulation, cybersecurity, and the third biggest one, in my opinion, is data silos. And then as this AI evolves, data silos are going to come down, and then we're going to see truly the process in which the last biggest hurdle, which is my moon landing, by the way, is the healthcare curse of data dimensionality. Most data even has actually one dimension. We have 6 different dimensions, physiological data, pathological data, radiological data, metabolics data, and more importantly, all of this data is has a 4th dimension, which is the time. So when you look at this as a problem as a whole, as Anthony was explaining, it is definitely much harder. I'm gonna Ed and Harvey, go ahead. You guys are gonna, because by the way, Anthony, what I've been doing is I've been asking them very hard questions in the last episode, so they're not happy with me. So
Yeah.
I'm just trying to make them a little happy today.
I enjoy the hard questions because that keeps my mind moving. But I think the future is going to be, remember, I'm a classical musician. I enjoy playing medieval just as much as I enjoy playing classical romantic period pieces. But that's what we're seeing. We now going into the classical period from medieval and Renaissance and Baroque. So it's exciting because we're adding more instruments, but also makes the compositions more challenging now. But I can't wait until we have the convergence of, for instance, digital twins will be hard to execute, but if you have agentic tools available, it'll be easier. So we're going to see a really meaningful convergence of these technologies to really do the impossible. To do the impossible, like creating a randomized controlled trial with your one patient based on the world's data is going to be, that's my dream, but it's going to be possible in my lifetime now because of all the tools that are now available.
Absolutely. Since you asked for a hard question, I apologize to do that to you. So here's the problem. When I talk to clinicians, one of the fear that comes is because of articles like this. And this is, can you guys see my screen? Not yet.
It's loading. There you go.
There you
Oh
go.
yeah.
If AI can diagnose patients, what are doctors for? And this is the New Yorker. And then this actually, I'm just going to be honest with you. I mean, we have built something very amazing in the background that is releasing for what we call acute stroke care, exactly multimodal time series and all of this. And we're releasing it soon, actually next year or so. But one of the fears when I was presenting it, like, Junaid, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? I mean, do you not want your job anymore? And now go ahead and address this hard question. And by the way, you should come. That's why I keep saying you should come to these conferences and learn, because you are gonna. It's not about replacing you, which again Anthony's gonna explore more. But what I'm saying is you need to learn, because the way exactly you need to learn how to use a stethoscope. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think if you look at astronauts, they've transitioned from being pilots to being engineers. And I think I'd love to see the same transition in healthcare, that clinicians take on the additional domain of data science and really find the best use. Because the clinician with the data science background are going to come up with the best project ideas and the best solutions. Data scientists, and I have a high regard for them, are not necessarily the people that come up with the best clinical ideas and problems to solve. Clinicians without a data science background, though, really don't understand how to go about, answering a question with data science. So the bilingual cohort will really drive the future of healthcare and AI and make the job more meaningful. I think and answering, I have only perused that article, but my answer to that question would be there are lots of things that clinicians are going to be able to do still. They're going to be making very difficult ethical decisions, although AI can do a pretty good job already. They can help promote critical thinking and clinical judgment. I'll give an example of AI, how AI is not working. I just came back from China, and my colleague that was decided to go later than I did, um, with the same hotel. I paid like $300 a night, and she was quoted $4,500 a night. Now, that's because the machine learning is saying there's a high demand, there's low supply, but that just makes no common sense, right? And you're going to find that even with the best AI tools, it's going to come up with recommendations or solutions that are just not making sense or not feasible or not logistically possible or too expensive, whatever it is. So that the weight of the recommendations still needs humans who have actually lived, in who live in healthcare, will have to help out the recommendations. The recommendations are just coming in because it's stochastically makes sense, but it's not going to have that common sense and definitely not enough clinical judgment for at least a decade or two. It's going to learn to have more and more better clinical judgment because it's going to learn from us. And then after someone said, what's for clinicians after that? Well, I think after that we may have to get used to just working 3 or 4 hours a day instead of 8 hours or 9 hours like I did Monday. So we may have to find meaning in other areas, and it's not a bad thing. I love working and seeing patients, but I have to say 70-80% of my time doing things that I did on Monday when I saw 25 patients could have been done by AI, very easily. It's more of the social interaction that I value, and that can be done, much faster in a much shorter amount of time. So we may have to get used to a different working ethic altogether, which is not necessarily a bad thing, and spend more time with our families and find meanings in other things we do, creative things that we might want to do. I have lots of things I want to write, and that's the other thing is, when you write, I think there's still a big place for original thinking and writing. Too many people are using AI tools to help them write things. I use AI tools to help me do things that really don't require a lot of creativity, like putting together a curriculum for a master's program. I don't need to do that for every bit of it. I prompt it so that it gives me a good idea and I fine edit it. But original thinking and original thoughts and original approaches to problems, I think that's going to be more valuable than ever before, right? Because whatever you're doing outside what's available on the internet is going to be the most valuable. So I would encourage human beings here to think about how to have original thinking and creativity that's not within the realm of internet as your primary mode of operating, because that's going to be more valued than ever before.
So true.
Right.
One last question, and then I'm going to close. Harvey or Edward? Go.
All right, no pressure. I'll jump in just because Anthony has shared this with me. So you have mentioned that I'll just go in. Let me start to get the question. Had you not become a pediatric cardiologist, I have heard you said that you've been inspired, secret agent like James Bond, like Sherlock Holmes. How do these interests in espionage and intellectual puzzle influence your approach to AI?
Oh, it's huge, Harvey. Because I love solving puzzles, and I think AI in health is in some ways a nice puzzle because you have to figure out how to best use AI and how to solve a problem, and you have solutions. Obviously, there are differences too, but yeah, I think it's interesting that we use the word intelligence differently in espionage versus artificial intelligence. But I think artificial intelligence is in a way a misnomer, right? It's really human engendered computational intelligence, which is pretty amazing that we came up with that. But I am a little mildly concerned that in the hands of bad actors, including in healthcare, that we may suffer some consequences. So I do worry about that. But I worry about the non-use more than the abuse of AI in healthcare. So hopefully, but I think humans got this. We'll get ourselves educated and move forward and improve healthcare to the point where the practitioners of healthcare can have an easier lifestyle and patients will have more benefit, and that we have not a utopian future, but at least a better future. I look at my two daughters who are 10 and 12, and we really have to be accountable and responsible, for their future. We've already done not such a great job. My daughter half-kiddingly said to me, Dad, maybe grown-ups should consider using AI and children to run the world rather than just have have grown-ups run the world. And I say, you know what? We're not doing such a great job. So maybe you're right that children with AI can actually do a better job. And I can't argue against that, because every evidence tells me that that is a good combination. Children with their idealism and willingness to be together and without a lot of emotional content, and AI could probably do a better job than grown-ups. So that was a very telling question to me. That children are saying, the grown-ups, need to do better, and I think we do need to do better. So that's what inspires me, Harvey, when I look at my kids is that we need to leave a really, really good platform for them for the future.
Awesome.
So true. I mean, again, as usual, amazing conversation with our friend and everyone. I really, really appreciate it. Again, I just want to make sure that you do understand that American Board of Artificial Intelligence Medicine is an amazing course. And you can join great faculty and great cohort, including Harvey and me and everyone. And it is not only for physicians. I apologize. The screen share is a little problematic right now, and I do encourage everyone to come to this amazing conference, meet the great people that are going to be there, and then of course they have a amazing breakfast workshop, subspecialty breakouts, modules, speakers, advisory groups, as he has suggested, and it is for everyone who is connected with healthcare and artificial intelligence. Again, extremely grateful to my experts as usual. We do this every Wednesday at 8 in the morning, and then the recordings comes on Tuesday. You should join us live. And again, Anthony, Dr. Chang, I'm extremely grateful that you came. One more offer, last offer. Whatever company you choose in your awards, we as an added advantage will host them on this podcast to show off their solution.
Okay, good deal. No, I think you'll like I think you'll really like the choice. So
Awesome. Thank you so much.
bye,
Have a nice day.
everyone.
See you next week. Bye.